Total Transportation of Mississippi. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. We welcome in Cole Thompson, SEC Unfiltered, Houston Sports Talk Radio. And Cole Thompson, do you like a French dip sandwich?
Bo, you got to give me a little bit of warning before I ever come in on the conversation. Every single time, it's like something new that you guys are bringing up completely out of left field for sports. Yeah, I love a French dip.
Okay.
Made properly, it's got to be, number one, it has to be on a toasted baguette.
Yeah.
Just bottom line, no questions asked. And if I'm going to get a French dip, I might as well get some French onion soup next door to it. So that way I can use that as an au jus as much as the au jus.
I love it, and the au jus is so important. Okay. So, also happy hour. Do you go to any happy hours in the greater Houston area?
When I was younger and I didn't have to work the afternoon show, yes, I did. But by the time I get done with the afternoon show, happy hour's over.
What time are you on Sports Talk Radio?
2 to 7 every single day.
Damn, man. You all do 5. That's like Ryan Fowler in Tuscaloosa and 109 The Game.
So we do 4 hours, and then we have a recap show leading into usually the sporting events. So I do the recap show while the two guys that I work with, they go home because they're the main host, and then I'm their associate producer and the permanent fill-in, and then I do the recap show to end the night. So,
okay. But
that's only when we don't have Astros and Rockets games because we carry them as part of our partnership.
Oh, okay. So what do the Texans drive the train?
No, well, it depends. I mean, like right now, the Texans sitting at 4-5. You got a backup quarterback playing because of your dude got mollywopped by a Denver Broncos player. You had a 19-point comeback against a team that probably should have never even been considered a contender in the AFC. Like, yeah, I mean, it's driving, but I would say in this market more so having Kevin Durant back in the city for the first time as an actual Rocket. And the Astros, what they've been able to accomplish over the last decade, they really drive it when it's not the NFL season. When it's the NFL season, naturally, Houston is all about what's going on down on NRG.
Okay, so all right, college football-wise, who's getting more love right now, Texas A&M or the Texas Longhorns?
I would say the Texas Longhorns, but honestly, Bo, I think that both are warranted. You know, I think that when we have the conversation about what are we going to get from Texas A&M, what do they have to do to prove that they're the number 2 team? I mean, Lane Kiffin's going out here creating the own narrative on why Texas A&M should be number 1. I mean, you'd think that he wants the job out of College Station with how much he's provoking what that thing is going on. I don't think he's wrong, but the problem is that, like, I don't think that it really matters at this point because if it's going to solve itself out, think about it. If Texas A&M keeps winning, and Indiana keeps winning, and Ohio State keeps winning, they're all going to be 12-0. Well, Texas A&M doesn't have to face off against Indiana or Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. They're going to have to face off against each other. If that ends up being the case, Texas A&M just needs to win the SEC, and they will move into the number 2 spot, if not the number 1 spot, depending on what the score differential is. So it's like I can't say that they're getting fair criticism or they're getting more favoritism because they look like the most complete team in the SEC, and the only thing that's standing in their way are 2 undefeated teams from the Big Ten, one of which was the reigning national champion that hasn't lost a game since last November when they dropped the ball against Michigan. So it's hard to go ahead and argue with that. And then Texas, the thing is, we know that the committee was going to say there were changes this year. They want to make it clear that we weren't going to follow the same method of just trusting what the numbers say or looking at, what a stat box says. We actually want to watch the games. And Texas isn't being penalized for scheduling an out-of-conference matchup and losing by 7 points to the current number 1 team in the country. The problem is that if Texas was going to find itself ranked a little bit higher, it shouldn't have lost on the road to a Florida team that just found a way to crap the bed against Kentucky on Saturday.
Right.
And now it's going to a new quarterback. So if you want to say which one is getting a little bit more favoritism, it would definitely be Texas, but can you really argue it? Because Texas has a top 10 win over Oklahoma in Red River. They have a top 10 win over Vanderbilt. They're still 4-0 in conference. I mean, they only have 1 loss in conference play, and they've won 4 straight, including 2 overtime wins against maybe Kentucky and Mississippi State aren't proven guys, but let's be real. We talk about this all the time. We gave them the benefit. I mean, we gave them flack last season for saying, you're no longer getting to play on the road in Ames and in Manhattan, Kansas. You're going to go to big boy country and play against teams like Lexington and Starkville, and that will eventually make you wake up on a Sunday in pain. They still won the football game. So If they win out, they're in the playoff. If not, if they lose one game, really if they lose this weekend, they're going to be out of the playoff conversation, and then we can start wondering, okay, who makes that next jump in?
You think, how do you see it? Does Texas have a real shot to go in there and upset Georgia this weekend?
Well, what's more true is going to be the big question, guys. I mean, Georgia's defense last week finally looked like the Georgia version of an old defense underneath Kirby Smart. They were great after that opening drive where Kamario Taylor rushes his way on into the end zone. They start figuring some things out. They get a couple of key stops. They get the big turnover on Blake Shapen. You get 3 sacks on the day. You have 8 tackles for loss. You're exceptional on third down. You take away Anthony Evans. You don't allow Brennan Thompson to have anything more than that one big-time catch. And so if that's the version of Georgia's defense that we're seeing at this point, no, Texas has no shot. But on the flip side, Texas's offense decided to find a spark really after getting midway through the third quarter against Mississippi State. I mean, it felt like, have you guys ever seen the movie Toy Story 3 where Lotso decides to hit reset on Buzz and he goes back to be thinking that he's a space ranger? I feel like that was what happened with Arch Manning during the middle of one of the hits he took in the third quarter against Mississippi State. Like, they factory reset him to preseason expectations because ever since, he has been as advertised. He has 777 passing yards. He has a completion percentage around 68.2%, 7 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. He's only been sacked 1 time. He's added on another 85 yards there with his legs. He's rushed in a touchdown. He's playing up to par. So the question is going to be, which one was fool's gold and which one is here to stay? Is it Texas's offense that finally has a spark, or is it Georgia's defense that did struggle to really start off games, but now has come back to life and put itself in a position to where they can trust both sides of the ball to get the job done? I lean, and it's crazy to say this because it never happens in Sanford Stadium, I lean that Texas's offense is legit, and they're going to march on in, and it will be a close call, but Texas will find a way to win this game and keep their playoff hopes alive one more week before they have to face off against Arkansas.
Wow. All right, so Cole Thompson, SEC Unfiltered, Houston, Texas Sports Talk Radio. He's calling for the upset.
I am, but just remind yourself, Bo, there's going to be a lot of people who call on in and say, oh, well, this kid, he's from Texas. Of course he's picking against the Dogs. Why would he pick against anybody else? I guarantee you that his company pays for the Longhorns, which we do. So, you know, that's also kind of a thing to where it's like, they'll throw that out there too, and they'll say, oh, Homerism at its finest.
That's okay. Everybody's biased. I mean, you're an Alabama guy.
I try my best, Bo, and I think I do a pretty good job of hiding the Baileysms.
Okay, who do you think is legit that can give me how many teams you believe in the SEC that can get all the way through the playoffs and win the national championship?
Gun to head today, 1. I mean, don't get me wrong, matchups are going to be really, really big because we saw that with Penn State last year and Notre Dame last year. But guaranteed, I think Texas A&M is the only one. You can put them in any bracket. You can put them against any opponent. I think that the way that they have looked, they will be able to get the job done. If you're asking me based off of numbers and who you think because of the certain matchups, I think 4. I think Alabama with the right matchups that struggles to be able to defend the pass because of it's a top 15 passing attack. The Crimson Tide absolutely can, but like people were talking about this rushing attack last week and like how embarrassing it was not to be able to run the football. Guys, let me bring you back down to earth real fast. Alabama has not been able to run the football all year. This is not unknown behavior. This is not something that we just figured out on a Saturday. We've known this for 11 weeks. And then you hear people go, well, if they just fix this, what's to fix? We're midway through November. You got 3 games left. This is who you are as a team.
No doubt.
That's it. This is who you are. Figure out how to work around it. And so if they face off against a team that is number 1 in pass coverage, like if they were to face off against Ohio State in the semifinals, I would lean Ohio State because Ohio State has the number 1 pass defense in the country, and they have a top 10 run defense. So how are you supposed to move the football on a team that knows how to defend the pass and doesn't let up on the run? And you can't run the football. I think Ole Miss has a very good overall identity of its roster. Offensively, the beauty about what is Trey Chambliss is not only is he mobile, he doesn't pinpoint one target. There's 5 guys currently on Ole Miss's roster with over 25 catches and over 400 receiving yards. And nobody has clearly separated themselves. Like Harrison Wallace, I think, has like 522 receiving yards. And the next guy right behind him is like at 482. So there's clearly a decisive mechanism of trusting what your eyes are telling you just to find the open target downfield. The problem is that if you go up against a high-tempo offense, I still think your defense allows far too many explosive plays, and that puts you in a position to where you eventually will be in a shootout, and if you have one bad drive, it may cost you. And we saw that against Georgia a couple weeks ago. I think Georgia, again, it comes back to what version of the defense are we seeing every single week? Is it the one from Mississippi State, or is it the one in the first quarter against Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Alabama? I think that when you look at a team like Texas, same kind of thing. Top 20 defense, underwhelming offense that may or may not be able to get it all together. And I think if Vanderbilt finds its way into the college football playoff, the bottom line is that they're a very high floor, low ceiling team. Probably you need to win every single battle, including time of possession, third down conversions, penalties, all the other little nooks and crannies, just to be able to make this a fight. And that's a fight, not even a win. Texas A&M, I don't have any questions about. I feel like that if you were to ask me right now how many could open field, one. Certain matchups, I'll lean 3 or 4.
Okay. Cole Thompson, SEC Unfiltered, on the Out of Bounds show, driven by your next GMC Sierra truck at Fowler GMC, Pearl Brandon, FowlerGMC.com. All right, how much are y'all talking coaching the silly season and the coaching carousel? As far as Florida and LSU and Auburn and Penn State Open and so on?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about it every single day. I'm trying to find out who's the next head coach that's going to be fired. I mean, I'm reaching out to people that I know in the industry for years that have a better gauge, and they'll let me know some names that, could be on the horizon, names that could be on the move, which could open up new jobs around the SEC. So, I mean, like, it's happening. Now, the big question is going to be, is there going to be another firing in the conference this year? Because I can almost guarantee there will be at least one other move made. Does that mean Ole Miss loses Lane Kiffin to Florida or to LSU? Does that mean Eli Drinkowitz leaves Columbia, Missouri to go to State College, Pennsylvania? Or does that mean Mark Stoops, who has kind of turned the tide a little bit with massive wins over the last 2 games with Auburn and with Florida, they can play Tennessee Tech this week. Tennessee Tech's undefeated at the FCS level. It would be the most Kentucky thing of all Kentucky things to start giving a little bit of optimism, only to crash and burn against an FCS team.
Oh, that'd be beautiful. That would be so Mark Stoops.
So is he going to be back next year? So that's really been the big question right now. I believe we will see at least 5 head coach openings in the SEC, if not a 6th, that including Mark Stoops. It's really intriguing to see who are some names that you didn't think would be candidates for some schools that truly are. And you never know what to expect. It doesn't mean it's a finite deal, but you listen around the league, there's certain criteria that you have to meet that are non-negotiables for these programs. Some look at the program and they say, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to go near it. I don't want to be in that position. I'm in a great location right now. I can just ask for more money, and because of what I've been able to accomplish, they're going to write me a blank check. And then there's some others out there that you would think they would never, ever go be considered for that school. They're considered the front runner at some places.
Who do you think Lane Kiffin leaves?
I have been a very big proponent that if LSU gave him a phone call, if LSU gives anybody a phone call, not Lane Kiffin, but anybody, you don't turn it down. I think LSU is a premier job in college football. I think that LSU is one of these jobs that when you have it great, it could be the best in the sport because of you have all the resources, you have all of the recruiting assets to you. You can use the transfer portal as like a little hitch. People love the state. Every player that has ever grown up in Louisiana does not dream of playing in Tuscaloosa or in Athens. They dream of playing in Death Valley on Saturday night. Top 10 recruiting bed. But I think Lane's very happy at Oxford, and I don't think he leaves.
Okay.
I think that we're at this point in his tenure. Legacy is a really big deal to him. And I think that because of the passing of Monty, he started to look more so internally on how does he want to be remembered. And I think a lot of the things that people talk about with Monty is it wasn't the fact that he was always on the move. It was the fact that everywhere he went, he made an impact that was still synonymous at his funeral. And I think that Lane is enjoying life in Oxford. I think that having Kennedy around, Landry around, having Layla moved down there. His brother is on campus right now. They just built a house right outside of Oxford. His son Knox is killing it in high school. He's able to go be at his home games whenever whenever they have a home game, that matchup. He's in a good location when it comes to the board of directors. I understand the state laws of Mississippi when it comes to being able to afford a guy in a massive contract and what you can say out loud. So you can never give him a 13-year deal. But there's ways to work behind that. I think that when you just look at the numbers and how it's going to be 20 or 30 years from now, if Ole Miss continues to do what it's doing underneath Lane, it's going to be called Kiffin Field at Vaughn Hemingway Stadium. There will be multiple buildings named after him inside of Oxford. There will be street names. Lane or Kiffin will be one of the most popular names in the Magnolia State for the next 5 or 10 years for boys because of everyone will just name their kid after the coach. I mean, that's what we're at. And then eventually, the way that we talk about Bear Bryant and DKR and Pete Carroll and Ara Parseghians and all these legends of the game of college football, they only became legends because they stayed put and turned the program that they were proud of into a legit force that never deteriorated. And I think that means something to Lane. He wants to be considered that. And he can be the reason why Ole Miss gets to that level. So I don't think he leaves. As much as I think that there will be a lot of people courting him with money, I think that he's content. I think he stays put.
Okay. What if the NFL calls, like the Giants with Dart or the Dolphins?
I will hang up this phone if you tell me one more time that the NFL is calling Lane Kiffin.
You don't think so?
If he goes to the New York Giants, I will drive my Happy Keister down to your studio. I will, on live air, because I know you guys live stream this, I will shave my head while eating a Carolina Reaper. He is not going to the NFL.
Really?
You have it on audio. Your entire audience heard it. I will gladly drive my way down to your studio. One day, I'll even take off work. I'll provide the Carolina Reaper. I'll shave my head. Now, if he goes to another college, that I won't do. But he is not going to the NFL. I understand there's a lot of people that want to go ahead and use the ties to Jackson Dart, but that ain't happening.
Okay. Do you think that Steve Sarkisian or Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame or Ryan Day would entertain the NFL?
Ryan Day, maybe. And the reason I say maybe for him is because of, let's just say they lose to Michigan again this year, and you can't beat Michigan. Well, what's the good of having a national championship and winning multiple Big Ten titles and playing for multiple championships and putting yourself in a position where you can say, we own the Big Ten, when you still have fans saying, well, you can't beat Michigan, so you suck as a head coach. Like, what's the point of winning all these titles and losing one game when it's like, okay, well, I'm not viewed in a prominent light? So maybe if he were to lose to Michigan this year, but I personally don't think so. From what I've heard, Freeman would only entertain the offer of going to Ohio State or going to the NFL. It would have to be the right NFL location. He's not somebody who was just going to jump at the job like Nashville opens on up and Tennessee Titans are there. He's not leaving Notre Dame to go to a program that has no future and is constantly known for firing these coaches after 2 years. So, that would be something you have to look at. And I think that Steve Sarkisian, he's not at that level yet. I do think that eventually Steve will leave Austin for the NFL. Now, that's not me being an insider saying that I've heard these things and then Steve Sarkisian calling me out and saying he'd love to talk to me because I'm lying through my teeth because I'm not reporting that at all. I just have a hunch that he's not done with college yet. He will eventually go to the NFL. It's just not going to be in 2026.
Okay. All right. I think any of those guys, if offered, are gone. I think if Sark's offered, the NFL is the Ritz-Carlton. And so I think if Sark, Marcus Freeman, Lane, if they're offered, they're gone. And so the Giants are opening up, the Dolphins and the Titans will. Maybe one of them gets an offer, maybe none of them do. But I don't think you can say no to the NFL and not having to worry about the portal and all that. But maybe I'm wrong. All right,
I would say no to the NFL. Me personally. If
really?
I was head coach in college football. But I'm also a sicko for the Saturday game. So I'm built different. I like the NFL. I enjoy watching the NFL.
Sure.
I enjoy covering the NFL.
Right.
I am engulfed in college football. So when you're built in that cloth, it's a little bit different. But if you're not, yeah, I mean, money talks, and money certainly is going to talk to go to the NFL.
Okay. All right. Cole Thompson. This guy's on from 2 to 7. Houston, Texas Sports Talk Radio. That's incredible. And SEC Unfiltered joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Anytime.
All right, so y'all just cut him off. He was saying bye. Cole Thompson on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by the Mississippi State University College of Business and their Center for Entrepreneurship and Outreach. MSU's Center for Entrepreneurship and Outreach strives to help students, faculty, and staff at Mississippi State University start and grow successful companies. Call and schedule a private tour of the Mississippi State University College of Business and see what Dean Scott Graw and the team are doing. And Dean Scott Graw has over 10 years in the private sector business and played college baseball for Iowa State. Business.msstate.edu.